You know, when we are opinionated, when we do speak up, all of a sudden we are faggot. But they do the same thing with women. Women speak up, they're
right? And I think that it's important to really talk about sexism, because I think that when it starts to change for one of us, it'll change for all of us. And when we change the conversations in the barbershop, and I think too, to go in and be quiet is a disservice to our brothers, because we hear our stories now, right? And they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that you went through that. I'm so sorry that you're going through it. And for me now, when I walk into the shop, I'm more like, how uncomfortable are you with me sitting in your chair? Or like, I want it to be known that, nah, this is not okay. Because I want to change the dynamic of when my fellow brother and sister walks in behind me, I can refer them here. Because I know that they're going to be treated with care. I know they're going to be treated with respect, no matter what their gender is. And I think that that's when we're not kids, right? But we got to think about the little boys and girls coming up. That
you look for that in the barbershop. You look for these spaces that is supposed to feel like community. It's supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to feel like you could go in there and you could express yourself to these grown men that seem like, you know, you're really inspired by these grown men who have these little businesses. They have themselves, what you seem in order, and then you listen to their conversations and you listen to how they speak about women. That is what, for me as a young man, I used to remember how they spoke about women and black women, and yeah.
To this day, I don't like, listening to men talk about women and talk about, homophobia, just be loud and it's to this day, I be like, y'all annoying. I shouldn't be annoying. My words should be annoying. I used to be like, how are you really thinking like this? Like, how are you really talking like this? Like, the dog chased the cat thing that they do that. I hate it. So I used to just sit and watch, and I didn't have an example of what, to me, that was what a man was, and then you had your women. I didn't have an example of what, I know I wasn't that. I know I didn't like that. So what am I supposed to be gravitating to? I don't want to be that. Yeah. If being a man is that, I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? My father and my cousins and uncles and older men in my family were street thugs. I didn't want to be that either.
These intersections within the black community that make people feel so isolated that they have to wear their sexuality as a cloak. They have to wear their gender as a cloak. That doesn't make any sense. Why can't you just be yourself openly and freely and that just be it? And one of the things that always amazes me about Kadeem is that I was the weird girl. I am still a weird girl. But it wasn't one of those things where we're bonding because we're both the outcasts. He's just a great person. That's what I get. That's all that matters. And I think that's the bigger problem. Why does my sexuality matter if I'm just trying to get a service? Let me get my service in peace. Why do you have to question that? Why does that make you feel uncomfortable? That's the conversations that I try to have with people. Like, one instance where this barber insisted that I was a dyke. I was like, you mad because I'm going to take your girlfriend? I told him that. I said, are you upset that I might take your girlfriend? And he was like, what you mean? He's Jamaican. I also from Flatbush with a crack bush. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But what I'm saying is, he was so offended. He was like, oh, that's why you're coming here and you get your shape up. And yeah, because I want to take your girlfriend on a date. That's exactly why. And I want to know why that bothers you so much. Why does it bother you? And that's the type of conversations I think we need to open up to. Because there's no reason why people have to feel like they got to hide. They have to put on a cloak. They have to then denounce who they are because hypermasculinity is sitting in a chair, and so I gotta pretend that I know what's going on in football when I really don't give a fuck. What is that about? I don't get why are we even doing this? It's just about the person who's trying to get services. Make it about that.
And what I always like to do with people is because I hate when people, like, before I open up my mouth, they be like, oh, you look straight, and I'm like, don't ever offend me like that ever again. Don't ever. Exactly.
What do you mean?
What does the straight look like? So I like that when they think that I'm one of them and they can have a conversation, and what I do is call them in. It's one thing to call people out, like, don't do that. I call them in and say, what is it about them that it is affecting you? The antidote to ignorance is education.
Yes, agreed.
So you need to be educated clearly on what's going on here.
So let's educate you.
Yeah. So let's
do
let
that
me
now.
educate you.
Okay.
And if you don't want to have that conversation right now, I don't really need to spend my money here because there's a whole bunch of other barbershops out there. And if that's what it's gonna be, don't patronize your business. I'll stand outside of the barbershop and see somebody from the community and be like, don't go in there, they don't like us. We ain't welcome there, we can't sit there. That table is not for us. And it's also
when we're talking about homosexuality, we're talking about homophobia, transphobia, all these things. And what's really interesting is we're talking about barbershop culture. And like barbershop culture just has like this breeding ground for this, and we could say that it's this, and we could say that's that. We could say there's exceptions and stuff, but what it ultimately comes down to is just like toxic masculinity, like it was said before. And like what that is. So like, you know, you hear it all the time, like toxic masculinity is a prison, and it's a prison for a reason, because like how we are saying we're radical and we're unique and make sure you speak up and be uniquely you. Men, cisgendered, straight men don't normally get the chances and opportunities to be authentically them. So when you come into the shop as authentically you, it really enter
right into it.
You know who they are as a man, or they intimidated by other men.
How do we challenge ourselves by doing that? So
more of like a hindrance, like trying to hide behind people because I didn't want people to be like, is that his little brother? And I know my brother's energy. You know my brother, he's ecstatic, and it would have went down. So it's like trying to keep my composure, like, oh, all right, you know. But then it's like meeting that girl, your ally, who is like, what? Him? Nah. She was defending me, you know, so I love that. So thank you guys. Thank all of the allies in the room.
So I just feel like I'm no longer arguing, and I want to for the younger kids, because it's like, I'm only 24, and we shouldn't have to keep telling them like, oh, you should be that person, or no, you like slap, like if you have to slap a barber, do it. No, for real, because my 7-year-old child should feel comfortable to come into this barbershop and get a haircut. It's not my 7-year-old child has to now grow the confidence to say, no, you should just be doing the haircut.
Right.
Exactly. And to